morning. My name is Tim Kastning. I live here in Kootenai County, and I am representing myself and no other person or organization. I've tried to understand this issue, and this issue revolves around two words: sex and gender. It used to be, and I would venture to say that everyone in this room understands that these terms are synonymous. Sex and gender are the same. We are all either male and female, and I would also venture to say that everyone in this room knows your biological sex. Gender, now that the terms have been changed, gender can represent anywhere from 80 to 100 different mental or psychological conditions, whatever you think that you may be. If you can change your biology on your birth certificate, and by the way, it is a birth certificate, not a mental evaluation. What is your sex or gender at birth? Not something that you become mentally or psychologically later on in life. And that is where I think a lot of the confusion has taken place. We need to understand that gender and sex are synonymous, that we're either male or female. And here is one of the problems that this could lead to. Should a person change their sex on their birth certificate, and there is a homicide, and later on that a sheriff's department finds a body 2 or 3 months later, and this person who had changed on their birth certificate their sex or gender, synonymous, are they going to be looking for a male or female? Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Karen.
My name is Peggy Perrin from Hayden, Idaho. This ruling, to me, legitimizes gender choice. When we have been created, our Creator says that we are created in His likeness. We are created male or female. This ruling, to me, legitimizes the insanity that there's a choice, that we have to choose either male or female. And my statement comes from the authority of the Word of God, because God is my Creator, and I think He is the best source in this. He says in Proverbs, I am wisdom, and I live next to sanity. Knowledge and discretion live just down the street. The fear of God means hating evil, whose ways I hate with a passion. Pride and arrogance and crooked talk. Good counsel and common sense are my characteristics. I am both insight and the virtue to live it out. With my help, leaders rule, and lawmakers legislate fairly. With my help, governors govern, along with all in legitimate authority. I love those who love me, and those who look for me find me. Wealth and glory accompany me, also substantial honor and a good name. My benefits are worth more than a big salary, even a very big salary. And the returns on me exceed any imaginable bonus. You can find me on Righteous Road. That's where I walk, at the intersection of Justice Avenue. So my dear friends, listen carefully. Those who embrace these my ways are most blessed. Mark a life of discipline and live wisely. Don't squander your precious life. Blessed the man, blessed the woman who listens to me. Thank you.
Amen. Amy Nolan.
My name is Amy Romelin, Roemelen. I'm a proud new resident of this great state, having been here 6 weeks living in Bonners Ferry. My husband and I prayed for 6 years to leave California, and the Lord finally saw fit to get us out of that. Choose your word. So imagine how distressed I was when I got the email from Heather Scott that this was going on here, because that's what we thought we were leaving behind. This is nothing more than a spiritual attack on this state and on this nation. I used to work in higher education in California, and one of the signals that it was time to leave was I had to proofread flags for a student event, 42 different genders. And I thought to myself, good God, what are we doing to our children? Just, it's appalling. And then they were going to give me a student assistant who I had to refer to as they, because he couldn't decide, they couldn't decide whether them was male or female. So we came here to this great state to be in a conservative area, a Christian area, and to fight for what this state stands for. And I implore all of you to please don't let them get away with this, because this is such a huge slippery slope. Having worked in public education, you guys have no idea what comes after this. It is terrifying what they are doing to our children. It's cultural Marxism. If you're not familiar with that term, look it up. And my heart goes out to these kids that are being brainwashed and purposely confused. We all know the author of confusion is the devil. And public education is forcing these beliefs on them and confusing them from the earliest age to not be able to identify who they are or what they are. It's absolute insanity. And it's an attack on the spiritual foundation of our nation, of our Christian nation. And it's being eroded, and this is part of that process. In this state, we have to stop this. We have to stop this. We have been here 6 weeks. That's it. So thank God I'm on Heather Scott's mailing list, or else I wouldn't have known about this. But I'm here to fight with you all. My husband and I are here to support all of you. And I just beg you, we have to stop this. It's an attack on Christ. It's an attack on God. It's an attack on the Bible. And it's Ephesians 6. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Rosalie Ingraham.
Hi, Ingram, I-N-G-R-A-H-A-M. As you can see by my t-shirt, I'm a music teacher. And so I work with children. I see one of my childs over there. I work with children. I work all the way from little ones all the way to adult. And I would never, and I have a couple of my students here in the room today, and so this is not about you two, okay? Okay, but I would never leave this kind of a decision to children that are 18 or under. We all know scientifically that the brain isn't even finished until age 25. And so this needs to be honored in this kind of decision making that's being made by legislatures. It doesn't even make sense. So I saw a bumper sticker once that said, "Don't be so open-minded that your brains fall out."
Kara Claridge. Kay Dorison.
Kay Jorison, Jorisen. All right, let's see. I'm here to comment on 160208, vital statistic rules in regards to the gender change of birth certificates. I feel I'm here for myself, my family, my community, parents, women, friends, all around this great state of Idaho. I ask that you strike this section of this altering the gender for any reason other than to make corrections based on biological, physical, male or female. Although gender identity has gained some footing, we need to be aware of its dangers. Biological identification should always remain on birth records and identifications. Anyone should agree that this confusion could make identifying an individual impossible, mainly due to proper identification for so many reasons, one being crimes. This could have some major contributions to a rise in crime and the inability to prosecute. This needs further consideration. It would be detrimental for law enforcement, courts, and victims in rape cases, in cases where biological males would be permitted in biological female facilities, bathrooms, changing rooms, and I'd like to add, as a parent of 2 boys, sometimes I travel by myself with my kids, and it is terrifying to think that I could turn in there and there be somebody else in there other than another mother. Also, we have youth group homes, female mental hospital wings, women's domestic abuse shelters, and safe houses for women and children, jails, prisons, etc. This potentially makes for abusive situations at the blessing of the rule as protection and poses a major safety risk. This does not serve Idahoans well and will not benefit us in this state in any way. This is detrimental. It is a slippery slope, like many have said, going in the wrong direction. In fact, it has the great risk of being a major threat for violation of personal rights, protections of public on so many levels. I mean, can you imagine being a victim of a domestic violence case where your severe trust issues, and when you have severe trust issues and are placed in a safe shelter to find out your roommate may be a biological male, this would be a clear violation of this victim's rights. How about our children growing up not knowing who their friends really are, or maybe somebody they want to start dating? That's terrifying. The room for abuse of this rule by those who wish to utilize it for their own perversions and benefit is endless, and we cannot stand by watching our culture blur the biological and physical lines of this matter. Finally, there is possibility that one changes their gender identity and then later changes their mind, as we spoke of young adults not being fully capable to make the decisions yet. As their life goes on, they may regret this, and it is, let's see, minors should have, I got distracted. Yeah, I feel like it's ridiculous, frivolous, and this is not up for Vital Record Department. This rule confers no benefit and is not deemed necessary for public interest of Idahoans. Lastly, this rule is not an emergency, and Idaho is a free republic, and the people do not wish to be regulated by this agency pertaining to gender.
Gail Moore.
Very nervous. My name is Daryl Moore, and I'm very against them forcing this law on us. We was born man or female. That's what God gave us, and that's important, not to change it.
Jen Knapp.
Yes, sir?
Robert Whitehead. Whitehead. All right.
Robert Whitehead, W-H-I-T-E-H-E-A-D. I live in Post Falls, and to some extent, I would like to be the last one. I won't be, but I would be like the last one, and I would summarize all of the things that have been said, put them all together. What's the bottom line?
No.
The bottom line is a birth certificate is a factual document. And facts are facts. You may not like the facts, but that's what they are, and you ain't gonna change them. Okay? A newborn child, when they're born, the fact is they're either male or female, and yes, there may be the hermaphrodite situation, but male or female, most all of the time, a person may change their gender identity, but that does not change the facts on that birth certificate. And as someone said, to change that is not only deception, but that's fraud. Okay? So, facts are facts. We need to stay with them. That's what God said.
Sam Gallo.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Gallo, Gallo, and I'm a male. So I agree everything that's been said. When I looked at the what this meeting was all about, I broke it down as follows. My wife and I agree on this. We will try to make this simple and to the point. It is our understanding that in May of 2019, the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare published a temporary rule to allow the indicator of gender to be changed on birth certificates without legislative review. This is very convenient for those who want this rule to become law without public discourse.
Exactly.
It is also our understanding that in July of 2019, the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare went even further by changing the rule for children under the age of 18 who wanted to change their gender. The question is, did this change not open the rule to public comment like we are here today? It was decided by only 5 counties that only 5 counties would be able to voice their concerns about changing gender designation on one's birth certificate and allowing children under the age of 18 to make a decision about changing their gender on their birth certificate. Why only 5 counties are able to voice their concerns about changing gender designation on one's birth certificate and allowing the children under the age of 18 to make a decision about changing their gender on their birth certificate? Why only 5 counties from across the entire state are entitled to voice their concern? There are 44 counties in the state of Idaho. The population of these 5 counties approximates only 23% of the entire population of 1.79 million residents. What about the other 77% that would like to have a say in this? How does this benefit the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare and its director, Dave Jepson, who claims that his department's mission is to promote and protect the health and safety of Idahoans when only 3/4 of them do not have a say in this? How does this benefit the 7 Republicans and 2 Democrats on the Senate Health and Welfare Committee, or the 11 Republicans and 4 Democrats on the House Health and Welfare Committee? What gives here? My wife and I, strongly suggest that these rules be open to public discussion and evaluation to everybody.
Yes.
Not just a select group of people.
R.L. Perrin.
R.L. Perrin, Perrin, and I live in Hayden, Idaho. And for everything that everybody said, the thing that concerns me is how did we get to this point? How do we get to the place, and like the last gentleman said, sorry about that, is we need to be more aware now than we've ever been before, because the silent majority isn't gaining anything, and that's why I urge you to start looking into what's going on, not only for ourselves, but for our kids and for our grandkids and the generations that are going down, because things are happening right now that are going beyond repair, that we cannot stop it without greater fight. So I just encourage you to start finding out what's happening, not just in our community, not just of our province where we are, but the whole state and the United States of America. And believe that, and with prayer, I'm a Christian, I believe in the Lord, is that through this and start saying, God, what is my part? Give me a voice, and start praying for other people around that have a voice, that start speaking for our nation and how we feel in that. And I believe that will make a change if we all gather together, not single ourselves out, but come together as a community, come together as a family, and start standing for what we believe is right in the Lord's name. Thank you.
Jeanette Brown.
What? Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you, sir.
So sorry.
We gotta rise higher.
My name is Jeanette Brown. I wasn't going to speak, but like the previous lady from California, the teacher, my husband and I escaped California because of this madness. And then for Idaho to be for Idaho to be way take down to California and the rest of the nation with all this madness and all this sin is just insanity, and we need to stop it. A delusion is a belief that contradicts reality, and pushing this agenda of delusion is not truth. And the fantasy of all these people, they need help or sick. And if we don't come together and put it into all this crap, we're gonna be just like California. And that's why we moved here, to escape the madness. It's insanity. And everybody needs to be aware of what's going on and put up a damn wall here.
Anna Britt.
Maureen Patterson.
What was the other name?
Anna Britt.
Maureen Patterson.
Maureen Patterson, P-A-T-E-R-S-O-N, 1 T. We're from Priest River area. I had a friend who wanted to come, but she said to stop for if they would just look at the map of Idaho and realize that Coeur d'Alene is not the northern edge. And so I'll say her name is Michelle Rohr, R-O-H-R-E-R, and she says, those of us who oppose non-science-based gender fabrications by radical special interest groups are not being given fair and just representation.
Yes.
And then for myself, I'd like to say that Johns Hopkins Hospital has terminated giving any of these transition operations anymore, because they have found out that if you just leave the child alone, the person alone, they will go back. And the alternative to that is 20 times higher suicide rates. So this is a legal government document. Why are we pandering to that insanity?
Doug Patterson.
Doug Patterson, 1 T, P-A-T-E-R-S-O-N. Yes, I want to first say that I agree with what everybody's been saying, and in terms of that, is there anyone here who is going to speak in favor of them doing this craziness?
We're not supposed to interact.
One. Nice to meet you. Which, so I would say again, this birth certificate is a historical document. It is based on the observation of trained professional physicians as to what the sex of that child is on birth. They keep that data for a reason. There is governing reason to know how many males and females are being born. And to change that willy-nilly, to allow parents to change that for minors is just fraud. It is fraud on government document, and it is also child abuse. So that's what I got to say. Thank you.
Rick or Jen Kramer.
My name is Rick Kramer, C-R-A-M-E-R. I'm from Sago, Idaho. And people here, not the legislators. And I ask myself this question is, how does 1% of the population garner so much power? Because we allowed it to happen.
That's right.
And I'm as guilty as everybody else in this room. And we need to stop it. I heard somebody else say the silent majority doesn't work anymore. And that's true. My wife and I are Christians, and we need to put God back in our schools. And the 10 Commandments need to go back into our courts. And we need to be the shining light on the hill. For not just Idaho, not just to shine down to Boise, but for the U.S. All these people are moving to Idaho because they believe that we have this thing. And we're sitting here saying, this thing's being taken away. And we need to take it back. Thank you.
Seeley? Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Kramer, C-R-A-M-E-R. And I guess I ask myself, what is the true purpose of this rule change? And in my opinion, it's simply to serve the ideological minority, which is clearly the minority. I don't know that I have anything necessarily new to say what other people have already said, but it's a legal document. You can't change history, you can't change the facts. This is a psychological heart issue that legislation is not going to fix. It'll only make it worse. We are born male or female. God created us that way. The children he especially loves the children. And how dare the adults that are trying to correct these children and convince them that, sure, you're not a male, you're not a female, you're whatever you are, is just, it just breaks my heart. And then somebody else mentioned this from a practical perspective, the waste of time and money and energy being spent to serve this very small minority who wants this. And then to the legislature, there was 22 counties that requested hearings on this, and they only allowed it in 5. Why? So thank you.
Eric Seeley?
I get 2 minutes.
I'm able to sign up for you in the back.
Okay, good. I'm Eric Seeley. I'm a father, husband, former pastor here in the Coeur d'Alene community, Kootenai resident homeowner and business owner, California refugee 20 years ago. And if you would have told me 20 years ago we're going to be here having this discussion, I would have called you nuts. And now we're nuts as a people. I want to start with, by whose authority am I speaking? I don't want to speak on my own authority. With the limited time I have, I want to speak on behalf of the Lord, who is our maker, the creator. You can deny him all day, but he does exist. And he said in Genesis 1:27, God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. Then God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and what?
Multiply.
Hey, are we trying to screw up that whole multiply thing?
Yeah.
Oh, we are. Wait, are we trying to dictate to God, our creator, that we know better? Oh, we are. Interesting. How far are we going? This is the same God. Did you know that the preamble of the Idaho State Constitution, where the Department of Health and Welfare gets its authority, where the legislator like John Green gets their authority, has this to say at the preamble of the Constitution of the state of Idaho? It says, we the people of the state of Idaho, grateful to who? Almighty God. Almighty God for what? For our freedom to secure its blessings and promote our common welfare. That's why we even have a state constitution, do establish this constitution. My question, men and women, fathers and mothers, is why are we taking our hard-earned tax dollars and giving them over to our enemies? Why are we funding the health and welfare system, the agency that is destroying us? How stupid are we? We're funding them and saying, here's more money. Why aren't we gutting their funding? To shoot us as an Idaho people. To tell other California refugees who are coming here, fleeing, and saying, welcome to the new California. Idaho, shame on our legislature. Thank God for John Green. Thank God for Idaho, Heather Scott, and others. But you're the minority. We need more legislators to get a backbone and gut the funding. God bless you. But this agency, non-elected agency, I was here 2 weeks ago. Guess what? Full packed house. What? The same health and welfare agency is utilizing the CPS against parents. So again, why isn't it being defunded? We're funding our enemies. Ridiculous.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Huseby from Bonners Ferry, Idaho, Huseby, and I'm going to speak loud enough so hopefully all of you can hear what I have to say. Most of you have said what I came here to say. In fact, he just quoted what I was going to quote. However, there's a couple of things that haven't been said yet. One is, if I surgically had a trunk attached to my face, can I go back and on my birth certificate say I was born an elephant? If I surgically had large ears attached to my head, and I went back and said, I want my birth certificate to say I was born a donkey, does that make me a donkey? If we can change the vital statistics of our birth, then we can change the birth certificate of America, the Constitution. If that happens, folks, there will be no United States of America. If I have a bottle of poison in my hand, I can call it apple juice if I want to. But if I drink it, it's going to kill me, no matter what I believed it was, because truth is truth, whether it's believed or not. Thank you.
My name is Alex Taylor, Taylor, and I'm from the town of Sandpoint. I would like to say it's a pleasure to speak in front of the governor of Idaho and such a lovely collection of farm animals, attack helicopters, and skin people. To start off with, I would like to say that I think the policy as it stands is sound rulemaking. I think that the amendment that's being made is necessary. Speaking from my own experience as a trans person in northern Idaho, I would like to say that my main concern in regards to the amendment is the lack of quality and readily available health care for trans folks in the Idaho Panhandle. It's been my experience that I have a good friend of mine who's had a hard time finding a competent healthcare professional who can help her to continue her hormone therapy that she began years ago. I know several young people in the city of Sandpoint who could benefit greatly from counseling services that are experienced, compassionate, and conversant in gender studies and trans health issues. I would like to encourage the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare to turn an eye towards increasing the availability and the quality of trans health care in the Panhandle, whether that takes the form of increasing visibility for already existing care, or perhaps in encouraging continuing education for care that already exists. I would like to say thank you very much for your time now, and I would like to make an open invitation. I'm the only trans person in this room as far as I know. And what I would like to say is that if any of you would like to get coffee sometime, if you'd like to sit down and you'd like to talk to a trans person, understand her experience better from a first-hand perspective instead of an article, it would be a pleasure. You can find me on Facebook at Alexander Taylor. You can stop in at Trinity City Beach. I'm the bartender there. I'd love to talk to any of you. Thank you.
God bless you.
Howard Coons.
My name is Howard Coons, Kuhns. I didn't know what I was in for when I came here. My wife said, please don't get yourself in the newspaper. I've been greatly encouraged by the comments. One thing that has not been said that is the Bible makes it clear that because of the sin of Adam, the entire creation is under a curse. And part of the way that works out is that people don't always develop normally. I went to high school with a kid who had a little short arm. He called it the club. I have a cousin who was born with club feet and 2 fingers on one hand. Some people are born with a cleft palate. But we are all born either XX, female, or XY, male. Now, I don't know what yours is, but it is one or the other. And that is a fact, and that is the way that it should be on the birth certificate. If we make laws based on the things that are not normal, we will shoot ourselves in the foot. We need to understand that there is an order of creation. It's male and female. Thank you.
Mary Slobana?
What?
Say again?
Or Mary Slobana?
Oh, boy. My name is Mary Swoboda, S-W-O-B-O-D-A, B as in boy, D as in dog. I agree with everyone, but I'm really glad that somebody explained why our elected representatives are not making these rules, but they seem to be coming out of agencies within our government, and that's not right, as far as I'm concerned. And I do have some information. Governor Little has been making the rounds of small towns in the area, and he will be in Rathdrum on Thursday the 26th from 10 to 3 at the Lutheran Church. He's going to be bringing a contingent of department heads from the state that will be there. So if you get a chance, come on down and talk to your governor.
Michelle Otteson?
First, I'd just like to say that I'm pleasantly surprised at how loving and that everyone is in their disagreement on this matter. I myself am a refugee from Western Washington, where I felt like we had to be armed to go to the bathroom. I had some friends of my daughter's who were terrified to be in the bathroom. They had men coming into the bathrooms, and they just were scared. We really want to tell our young girls and our women that their safety does not matter. We want to tell our young boys and men that manhood does not matter. Anyway, I just want to remind everyone of the story of the Emperor Has No Clothes, where people were all like, oh yeah, that's the truth. We'll go along with that. And it took a child to say, why are you guys all lying? Why are we going along with this? It's not the truth. Some people might want to wish and even think that they are a different sex than they were genetically conceived, but that doesn't alter reality or make it truth. They have a right to think and believe that they are the opposite sex, or some other whatever. But I have a right to believe that I'm an eagle, if I want. I can even intimidate or even convince 51% of the people in Idaho that I'm an eagle. That they could pass a law that says Rochelle Otteson is an eagle. That doesn't mean that I'm going to have feathers, that I can fly, or that I'm an eagle. Anyway, so no one has the right to use the government and the force of law to make others go along with their untruth and their counterfeit that they wish to believe. And if you can change a birth certificate based on current and changing ideology, the birth certificate becomes meaningless and useless. That's even the point of it. Regarding minors, children should be able to depend on their parents and their community to guide them towards truth and their ultimate best interests through this time of exploring what they wish to become in life. Parents and other adults should not commit them to this confusion and counterfeit. It's child abuse. I agree with that. And lastly, we aren't doing anyone any favors by supporting and enforcing this confusion. That isn't compassion. That isn't loving our fellow beings.